The neophytes squatted on the ridge overlooking the ensuing battle. Some had rifles, and others were taking pot shots at fleeing cultists. As per orders from their comlinks, others had not yet been granted these holy weapons, and instead helped to take part in scouting routines and had with them various combat knives and other such close quarters gear. None had expected this battle to be long or hard fought. The chapter saw it as an excellent training exercise, however, and dispatched both a complement of Marines to help Imperial forces and many neophytes to scout and learn. All it had taken was a devastating jump pack charge to break the front line of the cultists and to start driving them back.
The cultists have some armor, requesting assistance.
The comm crackled to life. Scout Sergeant Leandes used his scope and soon found the ramshackle machine cobbled together. It was deflecting shots from a relatively small arms their assault brothers had with them.
Honored Vorther, will you lend us your fury?
The sergeant asked, turning towards the Dreadnought which stood over them. His tremendous form was humbling of neophytes, but it was for his soul they were with him. Something seemed wrong, however. The Dreadnought was normally relatively chatty, expelling wisdom and advice, knowledge of the chapter and their rights.
My Lord Thro, are you there?
The sergeant continued in a worried manner, as a low, almost painful hum emitted from the hulking machine.
Yes, cannot see.
The scouts had stopped to listen and watch the ancient warrior.
Need eyes.
Neophyte Mikkel appeared from behind one of Thro's great legs. He was Thro's eyes. He spent most of the time with the Dreadnought. It was quite an honor for the young scout to help Thro. Often these helper scouts go on to become great assets to the chapter. Spending time learning from such a revered warrior often saw to that. Mikkel brought up a target finder and aimed it towards the cultist vehicle. The immortal soul inside the Dreadnought had long lost the use of his eyes. He was aided by the sarcophagus itself, and for such a ranged shot, Mikkel improved his vision. However, this seemed to cause discomfort for old Thro, as a definite grunt of pain was mechanically voiced. The Dreadnought's torso moved, the mighty las cannons attached to his hull twitched and hummed as Thro found his target.
May your soul be purged.
The las cannon spoke with righteous fury as of the Adeptus Astartes, and the shot was clear and pure, illuminating the darkened battlefield, cutting away the fog and the pollution of the planet. Many guardsmen who were advancing in the wake of the Marines' assault stopped to watch the spectacle. The cultists' machine erupted into a mighty explosion, knocking the rather zealous nearby Marine over and sending many cultists flying. This seemed to signal a full rout from the cultists, who took off in all directions, terrified at the ferocity of the Marines and their firepower. The assault Marines almost preemptively jumped again over the hill of wreckage of the tank and was sat upon to carry on their righteous work. This also carried them out of the sight of the scouts of Thro, who were now being relayed thanks along with orders to stand down, and the order to begin advancing into the city to catch up with the Imperial forces.
First, Ray, you have done the chapter 3.
The neophytes checked their weapons and gathered around Thro. He was likely to talk to them about the battle or what was to come. He seemed to like lecturing the scouts.
Sergeant, I will teach. Give me a
Leandri stepped forward, removing his canteen from his side. Wanting to see what this was all for, one of his scouts threw a bowl at him, half broken and dusty, probably found on the floor.
I have them, Vorder Thrau.
The scouts seemed to murmur between themselves and move closer, all getting into sight of the bowl and Sergeant Leandri's.
Good. Please go. Gather boys. We will watch this flow of water. Good practice of mine.
Leandris cursed to himself. Antovi was always disbelieving in the chapter's abilities. But as if he were here, he had to be worthy. He was more surprised he hadn't heard Antovi himself.
Scout Antovi, if you scoff again, Chaplain will be informed of your arrogance and disregard. Chaplains do not enjoy waste of potential. Pour your canteen, Sergeant.
Leandris upturned his canteen, slowly, the eager eyes of the neophytes waiting around the flow of water, waiting to figure out how it would land and form a bowl. He kept turning and turning until the canteen was upside down. Antovi piped up from the back of the group.
Sir, there is no water in your canteen.
The scouts again murmured to themselves. Some had even started to take their own canteens to hand to Sergeant, until Thoreau's booming voice broke the relative silence.
Exactly, Antovi. You did not expect nothing. Sometimes our eyes curse us. Do not oversee. Think too. Sometimes there is no deeper web. Sometimes it is our illusion. Sometimes we are wrong.
The scouts were not used to being told. They were not the unbeatable fury of the Emperor given form. They shifted somewhat uncomfortably at the notion. They all heard the chaplains talk about the glory of death and the glory of their gifts, but they had not mentioned they could be wrong.
Now you trust your brothers. Now, when the canteen is turned, you will think it may be empty. When you gain your sight, blind ones, you must trust and watch your brothers. In that way, we are stronger together in our gift and in our curse. Now come, blind ones. We still have a battle to fight. Antovi, take point and head down the ridge. We will be behind you shortly. No noise, scouts. We don't know what is out there.
Leandris barked from his orders to the scouts, watching them regain excitement and movement when they were out of sight, leaving Leandris, Makel, and the old Thoreau stood upon the ridge. Leandris turned to the Dreadnought.
Lord Thrau, how did you know my canteen was empty? You push your squad and yourself. This place is acrid and polluted. Water is necessary. You therefore would not bring water. In your thirst, you gain strength.
Leandris stood in astonishment.
But you are wrong. understand, Lord. I shall correct my mistakes. We could have leveled this city, but not all are lost. We must protect potential.
Mikkel once again made himself visible.
They say the Vorder have lost their sight, sir. In truth, they see more than we could possibly hope for.
He rested a hand on Throw's leg armor, patting it, before the Dreadnought walked off, after now distant scouts.
Throw, watch out for the rock!
Mikkel exclaimed, jogging after the Dreadnought and coming to pace beside him.
You are not a sitter, Mikkel. Now walk behind me, unless you want to die.
Mikkel listened and moved in line as they continued the cliff edge beside the Dreadnought. Mikkel's old position abruptly crumpled away down the cliff sides to the ground, a considerable distance below. Leandres watched all of this happen, smiled to himself, and reattached his canteen, making a note to fill it later. He hoisted his rifle to a comfortable position behind his shoulder and began to run after his squad. According to the comm chatter, the city was not falling without a fight. Despite their assault brothers' efforts, it would seem his squad would get a chance to use their shotguns and sidearms, and gave it old Throw another chance to teach them all a thing or two, and to unleash some of the Emperor's fury.